Hey, my name's Isaac, and I wanted to showcase a application that I've been working on as part of a YouTube tutorial I was following, but I made some modifications to it to kind of make it my own, and I wanted to cover it. So, first of all, I call my T3 Emoji app. It's based off of this tutorial by Theo, and this is kind of what it looks like in the tutorial. I then have my app here, which is deployed on Vercel, and I added in the functionality to be able to start typing without being logged in first. And then I also added a header bar at the top right here with sign in, sign up buttons. So I wanted to go over the stack that was used to build this, and so I made it using Next.js, using the pages directory and not the newer app directory. And this is the JavaScript framework. And then it uses Clark as the authentication service. And then it uses TRPC for type safe client to server API requests, and it makes sure everything is type safe. And it uses what's called procedures instead of like fetch requests for API requests, etc. And so then we overall just use type script for type safety, and then we use Zod for input validation, and it all kind of works together with TypeScript and TRPC. We use PlanetScale for the MySQL database, and then we use Tailwind CSS for the styling. Like I said, Vercel is the web host, and Upstash is used for Redis rate limiting, and that works using the user ID when the user is authenticated, because the user can't post if they're not authenticated. Then one flow that I ended up making that's not part of the YouTube tutorial is, like I said, the user can post an emoji. Well, they can enter an emoji first, and then if they're authenticated, it posts. But if they're not, then you have to sign up /in with Google authentication. In the tutorial, they used GitHub OAuth, but I wanted to use Google OAuth instead because that's what most people are familiar with. And then it will redirect after that with the post content, so the state isn't lost when being redirected through the authentication flow in here. So I really liked this addition, and I had fun adding that in. So now I will go over a little demo of the application. We can also see we have this customly styled scroll bar right here. I like this instead of having the whole page scroll, and I think it just looks nice. You can see there's quite a few emojis here, and I experimented logging in with different accounts. And we have a profile photo, username, and a timestamp of when that post was posted. So let's try posting an emoji. So we can use the Apple shortcut, which is command function spacebar to open up the emoji picker right here. We can enter in an emoji. I'll do the rocket right here. And then we can click on post. We can see there's a little loading spinner there for a second, and then we're redirected to the sign up screen. And then we can see that the content, the rocket emoji, is appended to the URL right here. So that's how the state is being transferred in this project. Let's push continue with Google. And then since I only have one Google account in this browser, it will automatically select that and log in for me. You can now see our profile pictures populated, and we have our rocket emoji right here. We can now push post, and that emoji is now posted, and it says a few seconds ago. So that is pretty great. The library used for this message is called day.js, I've used a few different libraries in the past for handling time, but Day.js comes in with a nice function to populate this message appropriately based on timestamp. We can also see that it has my username right here. It says welcome Isaac Anderson official, and so that is a nice addition. We also have the header text right here, which we can click on, and that will just redirect us to the main page. There's a few different pages in this application. By clicking on the profile photo or the username, it will take us to the profile section where it will show us all of that user's previously posted emojis, which is quite useful. And then, like I said, we can click on the header and it directs us back instantly. And then if you click on the timestamp, it will direct you to a page with that single post. So that is how that works. Pretty nice. And like I mentioned, it also has rate limiting implemented. So it will only allow you to post up to 3 or 4 emojis within about a minute sliding window. So if we put in a few different emojis in here, put in the shruggy emoji, and then this last one, I don't think it will allow us to post. And then we can see this hot toast pop-up come up, and it says you've reached your sending limit, try again in 1 minute. So that's pretty cool. We have a few different validations put in place using the Zod library for this input to make sure it's sanitized and we don't have any errors that are unexpected. There's also this sign out button, which wasn't in the original tutorial, so you can sign out and always log in with a different account if you would like. So that's pretty great. That's really the overview of this application. I wanted to dive into a few different of the technologies used in this stack. Starting with Clerk, we have the Clerk dashboard, and we can see a list of users that have recently signed in or signed up, and it has a nice overview of that. I'm not going to show it for information purposes, but under the users and authentication, we can see that we can toggle this option to require a username. This wasn't originally part of the YouTube tutorial, but since the Google OAuth doesn't provide a username typically, this will make it so when the user doesn't already have an account in the application, it will request them to enter one, and it handles all of the different things that might go wrong with entering usernames, such as checking if it already exists and whatnot. So that's really great. We also have different options for authentication, personal information, and whatnot. In the code, we actually use a data serializer whenever requesting user information from Clerk, because they give you a lot of information back, but we filter it out so only the username, profile photo, and user ID is requested through TRPC through the procedure call. So that's a nice little security addition and just a best practice in general. So we also have an option for social connections. I only have Google enabled, as you can see right here, but we have a lot of different options within Clerk. There's also options for Web3 and other features in here, but I'm going to move on to some of the other different stack items in our stack. But then we have Vercel, which is our web host. Makes it super easy to deploy this to production, and we just hook up the GitHub repo and we're ready to go. And one thing that I learned recently with the Vercel free plan is that you're not allowed to make any profit or any revenue on your service. So if you do, you need to upgrade to at least their $25 a plan a month plan. So that's something to take in note, but we're not making any money with this application, so that is perfectly fine. Moving on to TRPC, this is just the way we can make procedures from our client to our server, and it's just the way of making type-safe APIs. Like I've mentioned, we can see Zod being used in the example right here. Moving on to Planet Scale, there's a few features that I really like about Planet Scale, such as their different statistic points, such as row reads, row writes, and storage. This is very important since you can be built based off that, but you have a very generous limit of 1 billion row reads. I believe it's per month. And under the overview tab right here, we can see our slowest queries during the last 24 hours. And so we use Prisma as well. That's one thing I don't think I added to the stack, but on this overview right here, but we are using it in the application. And so we're using Prisma, and that makes queries for us basically. And we just have a kind of one-way interface, and then it translates that into queries that we can that are automatically sent to Planet Scale, for example. So I like that we can see what Planet Scale is, or what Prisma is sending to Planet Scale. That way we can try to optimize it, or just really see what is going on, which I find very helpful. And we have a nice graph right here, and we can even display rows read or rows written. That's something that I don't often see on other database hosts, for example. We also have different branches with the database. We have different insights, which has pretty much the same thing from the overview page, but I just really like Planet Scale as a nice interface. But I did also use a local MySQL database for development purposes as well, and that's something that wasn't covered on the YouTube tutorial. We use Upstash for rate limiting, and we can see that we also have some nice data points here as well, with daily commands, which is good yet again because it is rate limited, or I guess it has a limit of 10,000 commands per day on the free tier. So we can see our usage all in a nice and visually pleasing way. So I really like that. And that's really the overview of the different services used. And I really had a good time making this application. It was pretty fun and straightforward. I didn't run into many bottlenecks while developing this, and it's overall a pretty nice way of creating a fast MVP, for example, which can be very important to get your idea out there quickly, to be able to fail fast and improve even quicker. So I really like this. I plan on probably using at least most of these services when developing my personal project, which I might be announcing in the future. I'm not quite sure yet. But when things scale up, I would possibly consider splitting things out into a Node.js server, for example, or some other things, but that might be a topic to cover at a different time. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it insightful, and thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.